Okay, let's be honest. You and me were both hoping the Valkyr Heirloom was going to drop with her rework, so we've had to wait a little bit for this skin, but holy bro, neuron activation out the wazoo with this one. DE knows exactly what they're doing with these skins, man, and the proto frames as well. This is an infinite money glitch, dude. Just keep putting these kinds of heirloom skins in the game with the proto frames, and you're going to constantly be winning. The skin is incredible, I'm absolutely loving it. And of course, I'm in the situation where I've already covered Valkyr with her rework recently. We took her to a level cap survival. You guys should totally check out that video, by the way. So what the hell am I going to do differently this time? In the previous video, we covered just a singular non-Helminth build, which I'll show again today. But this time I'm bringing you multiple builds for Valkyr. I've made her stronger by adding 5 total Talforged Violet shards for even more melee crit damage. So yeah, my Valkyr is looking pretty damn strong right now. I'm not going to do the usual of covering the Warframe's kit. I feel like I've been doing this a lot more lately, but considering we've just recently covered her rework, I don't need to do this again, and most of you guys are probably familiar with her current kit anyway. In all honesty, Valkyr's playstyles don't differ too much per the build. She's always going to be a top tier melee frame with or without her ult. The base build that I like using with no Helminth is the same as the previous video, and just this setup can easily go to level cap. As long as you're quickly moving around and spamming your melee, you can easily proc that passive over and over to constantly go invulnerable even at level cap. If you're struggling with that time frame to get that passive back up, you can opt for a shield gate setup. For that build to old news, let's move on to something different. Let's talk the Enraged augment. This one's always been a bit of a gimmick because even before her rework, Valkyr was already incredibly strong when it came to melee damage. Now she just does way more melee damage, and she still has that level cap survivability, except it requires more activity. So why does the Enraged mod become more useful? Simply put, now once you exit your 4 and enter that cooldown, hence the augment, you can still stay alive at level cap because your regular melee weapon is going to proc that passive. So what Enraged is now achieving is a much stronger limited time duration version of her ult, and although I wish the duration of the cooldown could be reduced with melee kills, they should totally integrate that, by the way. The cooldown doesn't hurt as much because Valkyr is just way stronger with melee weapons in general, so you can keep kicking ass and staying alive with that passive regardless of whether or not your 4 is active. Enraged of course gives you a shit ton of overall damage with that bonus crit. If not mistaken, they also buffed the percentage from 250 to 350% during the rework. Maybe I'm just thinking that. But either way, this mod is going to grant you guaranteed red crits on your Valkyr talons. It's a playstyle thing. I personally enjoy using it from time to time. It makes her ult feel more rewarding to use when you use it sparingly, and it does just hit harder, so it's arguably better for shorter duration missions. I'm also combining this build with Nourish. It's up to you on whether or not you want to replace her first or third skill. Those are my recommendations. This is going to be a frequent thing I talk about when it comes to Valkyr. Her rip line is my favorite of her grouping tools. The alternative is to use the augment for her paralysis, called prolonged paralysis, where it will pull enemies towards you and slow them down. The pull from the augment, from my experience, is just not as consistent or good. I don't like it as much, but if you want to keep the build versatile, subsume off your first skill and keep a grouping tool, it is a good option to use the augment because, yet again, this skill is going to be debuffing at the same time, which Ripline doesn't do. I prefer Ripline still over the 3 with the augment. The grouping is way better, and in my opinion the mobility is extremely valuable. I love being able to yeet myself across the map, and the grouping is just reliable like I said. Ripline kicks ass, and I recommend you use it more. So I'm subsuming Nourisher of my first skill, and then instead of running viral on my talons, with this setup I'm using gas damage instead. Now this is the perfect segue because now I can talk about her third skill with its augment prolonged paralysis. Trying this build in a high enemy density mission is going to be way better, but I still prefer using Ripline. This build is for the people that want to use her third skill and use her first as a subsume option. The grouping is good, and at the end of the day you get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, having the debuff on the melee damage and the grouping at the same time. The build is mostly the same, except I'm not using Eternal War because I haven't got room for it. You can use a build like this with any sort of subsume you'd like. I still have a Raffle Advanced build, so I'm using it here. Not necessary at all, by the way. Raffle Advance is mostly useful in the sense that if you want red crits, you can just spam this over and over and not need to run something like Naramon to build up your combo with Blood Rush. Raffle Advance is still amazing, but Valkyr is so much stronger in her DPS nowadays. It isn't needed, it's more of a gimmick just for big red numbers, and she has multiple ways she can access those numbers without this skill. So don't get it twisted, Raffle Advance is not necessary, but it's in the build, and it's still worth using if you'd like more damage. And Prolonged Paralysis is good, even though it sounds like I'm kind of standarding it a little bit. Just because I prefer a Ripline doesn't mean it's bad. I'm actually kind of glad they kept it because it offers a versatile way to mod Valkyr if you don't like her new first skill. And there's another build that is also worth the mention. I showed this in a previous video. The combination of using the Ghoul Saw with Valkyr is one of my personal favorites. It's not the most optimal in the world, but because of how much blast you can proc with the Ghoul Saw, combining this with her grouping, her debuffing, and her melee damage buffing, then you could even subsume off her 4 if you like with something like a Phantom Eyes for armor strip. It's a really fun, powerful grouping melee setup, and it benefits greatly from her Warcry. So yeah, I wanted to cover Valkyr again, give some more builds just because of this skin. This would have been so much better if it had dropped with the rework. There's nothing refreshing here to really talk about, and in my opinion Valkyr is currently probably top 3 best melee frames in the game, and that's including exalted frames. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you found it useful. I appreciate you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time.